Hafade. Hafade todo samzu gweno hudzung. Inanu si Michaeluhan bavakwa. Buenas estigio nuevo na episode Fanatsu podcast. Oh, ay nage hungen. All right. Hutsetsek todo esti hungen. Esta mangay git dige aire hungen. All right. Han Solo Malolo Zupago. It is just me today because we haven't had an episode like this in a little while. It is another episode of Miget's Chamoru Vinyl Collection. And este imina Fatfat imina cuatro na episode. This is the fourth episode of that we have had like this. And so some of you who have been following Fanachu for the past 4 years or so, you may be familiar with what me and my son Akli'e have been doing, but it bears repeating. So after Imina Tres, napatgonho si Lulay, after Lulay who was born, it's my third child. I was on leave for about a month or so. And at that time, I had, several dozen Chamorro records in my collection. And there was times late at night where I had some time on my hands where the baby was asleep. And so, one of the things that I had been interested in for a very long time was the preservation of Chamorro music. I had been collecting vinyl for many years, Chamorro vinyl. I had been collecting Chamorro CDs for a long time, Chamorro tapes for a while. But I hadn't taken a step towards digitizing it yet. And so I decided to use my paternity leave at that time, in addition to in addition to sniffing my baby quite a bit, was to get to use the resources that the Fanatsu podcast provides through all of the support of patrons via Patreon to get vinyl a vinyl digital sort of setup so that we could digitize the vinyl records that we had. And then ever since then, me, sometimes with the help of my second oldest child, Akli'e, have been digitizing dozens of Chamorro records. And at this point, more than 400 of them are available for you to listen to on the Fanachu YouTube page. And so, for example, if you go to the Fanachu YouTube page, you can find them divided into different playlists right now by artist. And so you will find, for example, some of the artists Estaman Matungo Estisia, Estaman Maguaidza Estisia. For example, there are plenty of Johnny Sablan songs. There are 63 Johnny Sablan songs up there right now. There are 25 Delgado Brothers songs up there. There are 41 Gus and Doll songs up there right now. You'll find 19 Satfris Brothers songs up there. You'll find 11 JD Crutch songs up there, 19 Chamolinian Unuds and Dos, because there was two versions of Chamolinian that released vinyl records. You'll find Jimmy D, and some of this actually hasn't been updated because there's actually quite a few more Jimmy D songs that you can find up there. And so you'll find all sorts up there, and not just only Chamorro records, but then there are also records that were recorded on Guam that don't necessarily feature Chamorros, don't necessarily feature Chamorro language, so that you will find some records by Japanese bands that were recorded on Guam. You'll find some jazz musicians who recorded on Guam. You'll even find, Kalapana. They did a performance on Guam in the late 70s, and we digitized, some of their songs that mention Guam, such as Inarahan. And so our goal here, really part of the reason that I did this is because not just to promote Chamorro music, to put more Chamorro music out in the world, lo zahua no toru champu zazahua no. Another reason is because sometimes people tell me, oh, there's so much more music on Spotify. Oh, there's so much more music here, there, and so on. But every time I go on Spotify or I go here or there, there's so much more music is missing. there are so many Chamorro musicians who never made the transition from vinyl to cassette tapes, never made the transition from vinyl to CDs, never made the transition from cassette tapes to CDs, never made the transition from vinyl, cassette, CDs to streaming. And so, and even if somebody does put it out there into the streaming world, there's no guarantee that you can find it. There's no guarantee that somebody will put it into a playlist that you can find it. It may exist out there somewhere and Tisinho and Sorda. And so every time somebody says, "Oh, there's so much more music out there," I wonder, do people know how much more music there used to be? That where there used to be a number of radio stations that regularly played Chamorro music, and that people just don't know that there used to be quite a bit more Chamorro music options out there. And now people primarily think of Chamorro music as just a few different artists. And there's a few younger artists who are keeping it alive, a few groups that are covering and sometimes putting out newer music now. But so one of the reasons that we do this is because some musicians put out one album and then never put out another album again. Some musicians, such as those who might be on the Mezcla Uno and Mezcla Dos albums, such as the Regis brothers, they never put out an album of their own. And so if you don't own the Mezcla Uno and Mezcla Dos, or if you albums, or if you are not related to the Regis brothers, or if you are not a aficionado of Chamorro music, or if you did not listen to a lot of Isla 610 or Isla 63, or Kish 10, Kish nowadays, then you probably don't know who they are today. And so we do this to help maintain this connection, because it's easy nowadays for people in this algorithmically curated world to feel like whatever is accessible at your fingertips must be whatever's out there. So if you can't find it, it must not exist. Lo TNO I minagahit, TNO ikinabalis na. That's not it. And so we want to make sure that what has existed before, it has a chance to exist for the next generation, for future generations. And so that's one of the reasons why we do this. And so if you're not already on the Fanachu YouTube page, if you're not subscribed, then please go and check it out, because you'll find hundreds of songs out there by artists that you know and by artists you may not know about them. And so for those of you who are watching today, if you have any questions, put fabot, faisenha. When it's usually just me alone in a live stream, I usually don't get a lot of questions, because I'm usually focused on just, talking to you all and getting through the episode and so on. But if you do have any questions, por favor, faisenha, beatan, mientras na mandandandan na idandan siya beatan I comments, and so engen guaha question mizu, pegaha. But we're going to listen to some music. Gof zahu esticia. And so one of the things that I have been trying to do more and more is include a lot of the CNMI artists. The CNMI artists, because most of the better known Chamorro musicians that you'll find sort of in the digital world, or that you'll find in the sort of the Chamorro universe, tend to be they tend to kind of float around and not be attached to anywhere, or they tend to be from Guam. And so, but the CNMI has some wonderful artists, some wonderful records, and in many ways a distinct sound that comes out from the albums that emerged in the late 70s and in the 80s, and you can really hear them on their records. And so I want to share a few that we have been digitizing. Sometimes the way that we digitize them is that we'll do everything on an album at one time. Sometimes we'll mix them up. It really just depends on how we're feeling, what's going on. And it also does depend too on I posisyon niya na plaka. Guanabiay plaka makagwes, but apletsa. Sometimes the records that we get, it'll be clean on one side and then it'll be scratched on the other. So we can digitize the songs on one side, but we can't digitize well the songs on the other. So then we have to try to find another copy where we can get a good sample of the songs on the other side. And so sometimes that's why you'll see we'll only digitize some songs because there'll be scratches all over, there'll be skips, there'll be sort of a lot of interference for some songs. So that's what happens sometimes. That's what happens sometimes. But I want to share now as we're moving along. All right. This is a very important album for those of you who are Chamoru history nerd or Chamoru music nerds. This album, Primo Marianus, by the group Primo Marianus, Alexandro Sablan, and Joe Cabrera. And I was mentioning just a little while ago that Ezusunedunai Isianamai can really hear it in this one. And so Nihita Ekunguk.
Siya na storya, tantan tutanota. Pues alla sidan mi jutai manes konina tatu don tatiji ang mga kanta. Ban pangantan tamurita, kantan tutanota, kantan tut marianas. Primo marianas, sinaan I guru pun mame. Chamoru hamlo ay di mangote. Primo marianas, sinang guru pun mami pan matatsun dan panekuno. Chamoru hamlo ay di mangote. Primo mariana sinang guru pun mami pan matatsun dan panekuno. Namin rebu na guru pupuru primo hampogu pan matatsun dan panekuno. Pan pangantan chamurita pulo vakko siya na storya kantan tutanota. Pues alla sidan mi jutai manes konina tatu don tatiji ang mga kantan. Ban pangantan chamurita, kantan tutanota, kantan pun marianas. Primo marianas, sinaan I guru pun mame. Chamoru hamlo ay di manhote. Primo marianas, sinang guru pun mami pan matatsun dan panekuno. Pan matatsun dan panekuno. Pan matatsun dan panekuno.
Woo! Bonito na kanta. Oh, bonito na kanta now, no? Hunggan. Engenzamo ano nakanta hungyan sangani zu put bot. Natungo zu gichat hungyan engenzamo ano nakanta. Hungyan and engenzamo si Alexandro Sablan. If you like Alexandro Sablan, you will find several of his albums, many of his songs that we have digitized so far. You know, he passed away several years ago. But he, you'll find quite a few songs that we have put out there. And then I wanted to actually go into the Santiesti. My kids, fihu manmane kungo kam dandan samoru. We often listen to Chamoru music. And so, you know, para i dos soltero for my two teens, for example, sismay zan si Akli'e. Guahadandan samoro zaniha, guahadandan samoro tizaniha. So of course they have their preferences. They don't like the Chamorro country music. They like JD Crutch, they like some Casey Leon Guerrero. They prefer faster Chamorro music. They do not like Chamorro, like slow Chamorro music, and they don't like the country Chamorro music. And so the next song that I want to share comes from, it's another Alexandro Sablan song, but Guinigid Zaguahan, and of course Gisan Lagods and Gi Islas Marianas. When we think of Ruby, I Dandera, I Cantora, si Ruby, we often think of Jesse and Ruby, right? But in the 1980s, Alex and Ruby put out an album called Mampus Umagwaidza. It's a great album, and my favorite song from that album is called Mungihao, and it happens, Gof Zawes Sinakanta Sumahi Imasam Kunapatgonhu Gof Tidzanya. My oldest Sumai really does not like this song because it moves real slow, but I really like it. But anyways, I want to share this song with you though, because I really enjoy it. But I like it though because it's just a reminder that Jesse and Ruby today is one of those. It's a Chamorro musical duo that has been around for a while and people remember it. But this is a vinyl record, and if we don't preserve this, then a lot of people may forget that Alex and Ruby ever recorded together and ever put out an album together. And so Magov Zunaina sinet the preserve esti, sinet the nahudjung za nafamta esti. All right, nita ekungu kesti Mungihao.
La 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 Mungi ho Amonu Nagaigi ho Mungi ho Amonu Nagaigi ho Aga soha ualigo Lokti sinya usodaho Ai amonu naimo Ai kai giho Mungi ho Amonu Nagaigi ho ga sao ha ua li go Loti sinya usoda ho Ai amonu nai mo Ai kai gi ho Mungi Mungi ho Amonu Nagai 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 gi ho
Uy, Gofza. Gofza, no, na canta. Tu comprendes a fatizania si sumahi? Tu comprendi? Bonito, hungan despacio, lo hungan. Ay, de. Ay, de, Gofza. Gofza. Then, angan, okay. Like, ay, de. Angan, like, goti imagahin na plakonyanides and ibananya edzu. If you actually, like, see the vinyl and the case and the sleeve for that, it says warning, listening to this album may be sentimental to your heart. Gof Zahu. Ay, day. Hungan, that's like, all right. Hungan, we're gonna keep going. Oh, I see we have a number of people that are tuning in. Biba. Hey, Sidus Masi to everybody that's oh, Sidus Masi. Sidus Masi. We have some people tuning in. Oh, asking if there's gonna be a Chamoru vinyl sale. If I send if I'm going to and if when I pass away, my kids will inherit a bunch of Chamorro vinyl, and I hope that they preserve it. Who knows what they will do with it? But there's at this point there's hundreds of vinyl records. I don't know what they're going to do with them. And so, but let me just take a moment though. So one thing that I do want to point out. Oh wait, hold on. Let's before I get into that. Let's get into some more music though. Before so we've got a number of you that are watching, tuning in. We've got the feels in the room. I see a lot of people in the comments talking about nostalgia, talking about your memories. Por favor, keep talking, keep commenting. And so the next group that we want to listen to, this is actually one of the groups which, if you are of a certain generation and people on Guam still remember this group, this duo, they are one of the most prolific Chamorro groups out there. This duo, excuse me, I keep calling group, but there's two of them, so I should say a duo. The couple, Gus Zensi Doll, Gus and Doll. And so by their own count, by the couple's count, they had at least 11 albums across vinyl, CDs, and tapes. And it's different. Now we need to be careful though, because remember that um for some musicians, they had albums that were on vinyl, and then some of the songs were shuffled around and then re-released on CDs. And so sometimes artists will say like, oh, we had this many albums, and but that's part of the nature of the game though, is that you have greatest hits, you have compilations and stuff. And so it can be always a little bit tricky nailing down a precise number, but that's also a sign that groups are around for a while. Gus and Doll were recording, for quite a while, performing for a fair number of years. And so, and they had dozens of songs. And so similar to Johnny Sablon, sometimes people miss that Johnny Sablon, released and then shuffled around, and Jimmy D did the same thing. Some of their albums and their songs were re-released in different forms with the songs it changed up in different formats over the years. And so getting a precise number can always be a little bit tricky. But Gus and Doll, no matter how you decide the number, were incredibly prolific. And one of the things, though, is that if you are a collector of Chamorro music, there are some Gus and Doll albums that are easier to get, there that are easier to find, and there are some Gus and Doll albums that are much harder to find. And so this is one of the reasons why support from like Fanachu patrons on Patreon is essential, is that places to buy and obtain and procure Chamorro music are very limited. So people who have Chamorro music sometimes have it in storage, have it in their homes. They don't think about it. They're not looking to sell it. And then the people who do have it oftentimes have it from estate sales. There's plenty of people that end up with Chamorro music because somebody passes away, because a storage unit is abandoned, and there's estate sales, there's all sorts of stuff. And so there's lots of people that end up with Chamorro records, with Chamorro tapes, Chamorro cassettes. I've received Chamorro, hundreds of Chamorro cassettes from people who got them literally from somebody who just died a few months earlier and, basically won their storage unit in a bidding war. And so, one of the reasons why I appreciate those who support Fanatsu on Patreon is because I don't have the money to obtain all of these things. And I don't know what will happen to Chamorro music, to these types of this Chamorro ephemera, Chamorro media, unless Chamorros try to bring it back to the islands, because a lot of it ends up in the hands of people who don't care about it. You have collectors who will hold on to it and who will stuff it in a warehouse, who will stuff it in shops, who will like just shove it into corners and they don't care about it. We want it to come back to the islands. We want it to get into the hands of Chamorro people. We want it to get to a place where it can be preserved, protected, and it will mean something to the community that cares about it. The problem, though, is that sometimes people recognize that this will be valuable because this is rare. Some Chamorro records people will put out there because they know it's not some like fancy jazz masters record. So, $10. But sometimes they know that this has got to be some super rare record. So someone out there is going to pay $200 for it. And so I can't afford to pay that myself, but through Fanatsu, through the support of patrons, we are able to raise funds so that when we find collectors, when we find people who put out rare, incredibly hard to find records, then we can bring them home and we can digitize them and we can preserve them so that the Chamorro people will have access to them. And so, Hu agradeciano. I really appreciate that, because one of my biggest frustrations is the fact that when I started to learn Chamorro 25 years ago, I could turn on the radio and there was Chamorro music all the time. There was multiple stations that played Chamorro music pretty regularly. There were several places on island that were selling Chamorro CDs like all the time. There was lots of Chamorro artists that were making Chamorro CDs. There was Stelstar Productions with Tom Bejado, where you could just save up some money and you could go and spend the weekend or the week with him, and he could help you put out a Chamorro record, a Chamorro CD with him. It's not like that anymore. And so we have to collect, we have to preserve, and we have to protect what has been created in our language from our people, as a record of that and as a resource to keep of our language and for future generations who want to learn, and who want to use it to perpetuate. And so I cannot stress that enough. I cannot stress that enough. But Nihita ekungok idandan tatlu. This is from Guam Huguaidzahau. This is their title track by Gus and Doll.
Bonito na tanu zaman magop siya itaw-taw Haguhana it's slag of mamesiha Flores Bulana taw-taw mambinan sini bonito Sa beautiful island Guam Huguaidzahau Amam na tiempo sa dizuzani familiaku Tiutu muhaba binai hao solu winaizaku Megay matuguemu para un manago bonito Sa beautiful island Guam Huguaidzahau Hagu hami naguf mommy Guam Sa guf molikau nu hami That you said in a para ma destrosa Sa hagu hatanu mommy Sempre tu of mommy sa gahu wini elotanu Lo tu tagu hinanaw niya yan tihu and gen mataizu Zani ngayon yu malafani gwinay sa munu hami Sa beautiful island Guam Huguaidzahau Hagu hami naguf mommy Guam Sa guf molikau nu hami That you said in a parang ma destrosa Sa hagu hatanu mommy Separate you of mommy sa gahu wini elotanu Lo tago hinanaw niya yan tiyuan yan matay sa Danny ngayon yumaleva ni Gwinay sa munuami Sa beautiful island One who wise out Sa beautiful island One who wise out Bonito na isla One
Bonito na kanta hunggan. Ide. Kof zawad na kanta. It's a beautiful, beautiful song. Hunggan Gus and Doll. Always remember for each of the videos that we make, we usually try to include a little bit of information about the song, information about the album, or the musicians involved in it. And so we always like to remind people for Gus and Doll that they come from musical families. Doll is Itzetlun Johnny Sablan, and then Gus, a musician as well, who Guahat Setlunya, he has another musical brother, Siboya Kitsetsu. And then Gus also performed with other musicians such as Jimmy D, prior to forming a musical duo with Doll. And so, but yes, Ayade, go bonito na kanta, go bonito na kanta. And so I want to just remind everyone, you can support our efforts to digitize Chamorro vinyl music by signing up on as a patron on Patreon for Fanachu at, I'm going to put it into the chat here. There you go. And remember, every new sign up gets stickers and a shirt as well. Sign up as a Hatsa, Hugwa, or Tulu level patron, and then you get t-shirts or stickers. And so the link is right there. Oh, hopefully it went through. I think it went through. I'm not seeing it. Hold on. Let me try it one more time to see if it'll go through. Hold on. Trying it one more time. If not, oh, there, it went through. All right. Now, one of the most intriguing things about Chamorro music and its development as a modern industry that a lot of people sometimes forget is that oh, Sidusmasi, Senora. Sidusmasi. Senora, are you a Hatsa, Hugwa, or Tulu level patron, though? And so I'll check. But Sidusmasi and I know and support. Thank you for your support. One of the most intriguing things is, what are the most popular types of Chamorro music albums? In the history of sort of Chamorro music, what are the most popular types of Chamorro music albums? And so this is something that a lot of people often, when people get asked this, they think, oh, it must be this type of music or this type of music, or they but it's not something that you immediately think of. But once you're told the answer, then you might realize it. And so the best-selling type of Chamorro music album is actually Christmas albums. This is one of the reasons why Johnny Sablan put out multiple Chamorro Christmas albums. And one of the reasons why every single Chamorro musician pretty much has Chamorro Christmas albums, because Chamorro musician because Chamorro listeners, Chamorro music buyers wanted Christmas albums. And in fact, Jimmy D himself said that his best-selling album by far was a Chamorro Christmas album. And so every Christmas, it's not Christmas right now, but every Christmas, what we do for Fanachu is that we digitize a Chamorro Christmas record, a vinyl record. And so there's plenty of Chamorro Christmas cassettes, there's plenty of Chamorro Christmas CDs, there's also a handful of Chamorro Christmas records. And so the Delgado brothers put out a Chamorro Christmas album. We've digitized that. Um, the Chamolinian put out a Chamorro Christmas album. We've digitized that. Johnny Sablan, as I said, also has put out multiple Christmas albums. We've digitized many of the songs on those. And last year, we also digitized another one of his songs. And so this is a song from his album Feliz Navidad. And so now based on Amazon University, many of the albums are keep in line with what you would expect, that they're very religious. They sort of rehash the common sort of Canta Novena, Canta Nochebuena. They do the usual sort of Catholic Chamorro songs for the season. But Johnny Sablan, part of his, I guess, one of the things that his appeal is that he also mixes in some Chamorro secular Christmas songs. So he has, for example, on Feliz Navidad, he has Jungle Bell Rock, and he also has Begay Gigi Christmas, which is a Chamorro version of I'll Be Home for Christmas. And so Inita Ekungok.
Sempre abigay gigi Christmas Datan hihita dalu Adahina tion kwenta zu Sa tiap mam zuguatu Sempre abigay gigi Christmas Sa umaliit talunados Tutuhon to make a ready Christmas tree Nabula hadod na dyan paketi I'll be home for Christmas Baby, you can count on me I'll be home for Christmas Just like the way it used to be Sempre abigay gigi Christmas Sagot mahalan tu Bigay Fion mugi Christmas Masaya hahu Wig we feel Even if it's only in my dreams
Oh, bonito. Bonito, ano. I'll be home for Christmas. Gaigigui ni fihu. Ayade, ayade. All right. Esta kanaman gaigi hidgi fenakpu esti tiempo tapogo. We are almost at the end of our time for today. Lo sidus masi. I hope that you have all, enjoyed your time today. We're going to listen to one more song. And so, as I was saying, you know, what one of the things that makes all of this so special, the I collected Chamoru music before, but it was always just, whatever I could find and so on. But once when I connected this to Fanatsu, and then when sort of the support that Fanatsu patrons provided, because Fanatsu patrons, by signing up to as a Hatsa patron or a Hugwa patron, Tulu patron, it gives resources so that we can go out, we can get equipment so that we can digitize, we can get computer software, we can get even after Typhoon Mawar, we purchased because some of the collection of records that we have was damaged in flooding when the room that I keep the records in, when it got partially flooded, some of them, and so we bought some cleaning supplies, especially for records, so that we could make sure that they're okay, clean them, and then some archival. So we put them all in archival sort of packaging too, so that they're safe from the elements as well. Keep them in good condition. But as I said, one of the biggest things though is that whenever hard to find records appear online in auction spaces, it would not be possible for me alone to buy them, but with the support of those who help on Fanatsu, those who provide their own to give money every month so that Fanatsu can give money to support creators, content creators, those who, make special segments for Fanatsu, and also so that we have this pot of money so that whenever there's a very hard to find record, one that can help fill fill out the collection that we have for certain artists, we can get it. So then we can finally say that, well, now we can make available all of these songs, some of which, the next generation cannot find. Now we can put them online so that they can listen to them. And so, one of the things that so many people had asked was, for Guam Serena songs, was that some people, younger people, are familiar with Guam Serenas, but not their entire catalog is not accessible. And so some of their albums are easier to find than others. Some of them have been available online in different auction spaces over the years, but some of them can be quite expensive because they are hard to find. And so last year, through the support of Fanatsu patrons, we were able to get a hold of the last of the Guam Serenas albums to complete the set of all of their vinyl records. And it was very exciting to be able to do that. So now that we can digitize and make available all of them online. And so let me just share that as our last song as we say goodbye for this episode of Miget's Chamorro Vinyl Collection. Let's listen to Serena by Guam Serena, by the Guam Serenas, from their album Donkulu Ipatgoneni. Ita Ekoluk.
Sirena,
Biba. Biba. Ay, a day. I want to take this, Sidus Masi, Todos Hamza, I want to take this final moment just as a reminder. You know, after World War II, as many of you experienced, as many of you remember, Chamorros, they stopped speaking their language in a lot of places. They stopped using their language in a lot of places. They stopped passing on their language in a lot of places. But one of the ways that they kept using it, although it didn't happen right away and it was a little bit of a struggle, but one of the ways that they did keep it alive and kept it going was in the form of music. And so even if, for example, parents weren't using the language with their children directly, in many cases, unless unless they were punishing them, they were angry. Once Chamorro music was around and available, there was a pretty good chance that they might be listening to Chamorro music. They might be playing it sometimes, even if it was when it was time to clean the yard, to do chores at a party. Once Chamorro music was a part of the ecosystem, the world, whether you were stationed overseas, whether you were in the islands, whether you were wherever you were, once Chamorro music had been recorded and was an option, Chamorros brought it into their world and they made it part of their world. And so even if Chamorros weren't passing on the language directly in most cases, music made it so that it was still part of people's upbringing. It was part of how they were growing up. And so that's one of the reasons why Chamorro music is special to me. And that's one of the reasons why I want to preserve it. That's one of the reasons why I think that we need to keep that tradition of creating Chamorro music, creating Chamorro language music alive as a part of sustaining the language today. And so part of that means then that we shouldn't just abandon Chamorro music. We shouldn't just leave it in the past. We shouldn't just forget about it. If if no one's digitizing it, if no one cares about it, if all the radio stations close, we should just let it go. No, we need to keep it going. It's always my philosophy. And so was wow, bidahu, gesti. And so for all of you, I hope you too as well listen to Chamorro music, support keeping Chamorro music alive. Si Diyos masino hamza todos, estige ifinakpo estin episode finatso. Adios. Este